Welcome to Sleepless Readings. Tonight we'll be reading a tale called Please Be Quiet.
You have to be quiet. Your grandmother is asleep in the attic,
whispered my mother as we crept through the front door. Why is she being so dramatic? I thought to myself.
Why did you wait 17 years to tell me I had a grandmother who lived in a creepy old backwoods house?
I demanded of her. My mother shushed me, hurriedly ushering me through the house and into the basement. If the surprise road trip to a surprise house with a surprised grandmother was a strange start to my day, the basement just piled on the weird. Beige, padded cloth walls, thick red carpets, giant soft couches supporting a mountain of pillows in clashing prints.
This place looks like if a porn set from the 70s had terrible taste.
How do you know what a porn set from the 70s looks like?
Countered my mother. I rolled my eyes at her. Sometimes I think she believes the internet is a figment of my imagination.
This room is soundproofed to prevent us from disturbing and waking up your grandmother,
she explained.
About that,
I replied.
Why didn't I know I still had a grandmother? I thought she was dead. Are there any other family members you're hiding in the Hicks?
Ignoring my snarky tone, my mother answered.
Your grandma, she's special. She's not from here. She was a young orphan ferried over from a world away. No name, no money, and no memory. Her life was really hard growing up. This country can be unforgiving to anyone they see as different.
Hearing that, there was a twinge of empathy for my grandmother. I've always felt different my entire life, and people could be cruel.
But then she met your grandfather, and it was love at first sight for them both. They got married very young, and they had me really early.
My mother smiled wistfully.
We three mostly just had each other this far out, but it was a great childhood. Constantly outdoors helping Mom grow food or helping Dad maintain the house. I had hoped for the same when I had you.
It didn't skip my notice that my mother had used Mom and Dad to refer to my grandparents for the first time.
Once I moved to the city, I didn't visit as much, so I never realized. Your grandmother got sicker the older she got, started to lose her sight and smell, had to take long naps. It was a strain on your grandfather, but he insisted of taking care of her himself, making me promise to do the same if he died first. So, on the weekends, when you're with your dad, I come over, clear up the weeds, stock some food, do the laundry, and now that you're old enough, you can help me,
she ended.
You still haven't explained why you never told me about her,
I retorted.
No, I didn't. How about we stop at that diner you like on the way home, and I tell you the rest over pancakes and bacon? For now, just be really quiet as you walk through the house, and stay on the ground floor. You can work outside weeding the garden, while I finish up the laundry here.
She tossed me a pair of gardening gloves, shooing me away. Maybe if I wasn't such a curious, stubborn brat, things would have gone very differently that day. But a secret grandmother? How many people would be capable of sauntering off to yank some weeds with a mystery like that left unsolved? Determined to meet her, I headed up to the attic. For an old house, nothing creaked. Climbing the stairs was silent, the carpet dampening my footfalls. As I stood in the entryway to the attic, I struggled to get a clear look at the sleeping form on the bed, the hazy light weakening quickly with the setting sun. Screw it, I thought.
Grandma?
I said, barely above a whisper. She didn't move. I took a step forward. Grandma? I said loudly. At first, nothing stirred. Then, the whisper of sheets being slid from a body, a creak of joints as the figure on the bed sat up straight, head swiveling side to side in the deepening shadows. A harsh groan escaped her as her feet touched the floor, followed by a raspy throttle as my grandmother hunched over on all fours. Her bones cracked and bent and warped. each arm and each leg at opposite angles to each other, while her head gradually began twisting around to find the source of the noise. With each jerking twist of her head, I felt myself shrink deeper and deeper into myself, praying she didn't see me, praying that I could be quiet enough to be invisible. When her head had turned completely around, her eyes locked onto mine. No flicker of humanity shone in those primal depths. They were deeper and darker than the infinite night sky. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I barely breathed. She inched spasmodically towards me, the direction of the last sound she heard, closer and closer. I didn't feel the trickle of urine run down my leg, closer and closer. A scream started crawling up the back of my throat, closer and closer. Then she was close enough to smell. Wet, putrid earth underlaid by hints of lavender, mixed with the coppery tang of fetid blood. I nearly broke, but was saved by a loud bang from outside. A hunter's gunshot, perhaps, or a car backfiring on a distant road. It jolted my grandmother to action. She opened her mouth in a silent shriek, almost like the sound had physically hurt her in some way, and bolted to the window, shattering the glass as she jumped through it in pursuit of the source of the noise. It felt like an eternity before I could force myself to move again. When my limbs finally worked, I ran to the basement, hurtling into my mother's arms and sobbing uncontrollably. She held and soothed me like I was 5, not 17, rocking me in her arms. I told her what happened. I told her how sorry I was I didn't listen to her, that I thought I knew better.
"It's okay, little lamb,"
she said, reverting to my childhood nickname.
"Do you think I wasn't an obnoxious teenager at one point, too? The same thing happened to me when I first came back home. But luckily your grandfather was around to befuddle her senses. She wouldn't really hurt kin, he told me then, but he also sounded very uncertain when he said it. However, Grandpa did teach me how to track her and put her back to sleep. And now it's your turn to learn. It'll be hard. She has a really big head start, so we better get hunting."
Mum told me this was our family secret, our family curse, and not to tell a soul. But I'm disobeying her again to tell this story, to warn everyone. Whoever you are, wherever you are, please be quiet. My grandmother is awake, and I don't know where she is. Thank you for listening. That was Please Be Quiet.
Don't forget to like the video, it does help to boost the channel.
Leave a comment for the algorithm.
There's new stories every Sunday.
Not to mention the shorts on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So subscribe.
And ring the bell.
Thanks, guys. And, as always, stay sleepless.